to talk more about the upcoming NHL entry draft. Oilers Director of Amateur Scouting is Rick Pracey. It's interesting because for several years I went to the draft, went to a scouts dinner. We were part of it. And for 4 of those years, the Oilers had the number 1 overall pick and ostensibly were the belle of the ball. And obviously, even in 2014, had the number 3 over pick. And to be frank with you, that was the happiest I ever was. Pretty excited when Edmonton got Nugent Hopkins in 2011. Obviously, Hall, Sagan. I'll be honest, I was a pro Hall guy. I was a big pro Nugent Hopkins guy in 2011. In 12, that was such an odd draft year. Yakupov going number 1. The Draisaitl draft year in 2014, though, that was the one for me. I was concerned that Leon was going to be gone. With the second pick, that didn't come to fruition. I was stoked on that one. McDavid, that's pretty self-explanatory. So we've been to a bunch of them, but how different is it when you don't now? Last year, you guys traded into the first round, but how different is it when you're only sitting there with 3 picks, a 3rd, a 6th, and a 7th?
The process is the same. It's just a different level of conversation. You still have to order from 1 on. You still organize your thoughts in the events of moves. You still sort of set your internal marketplace. So that part's all the same. Yet, you work so much more off of a magic number or accounting backwards of, okay, if we're picking 83, 82 decisions are made, what does that look like to our list? Okay. So are we looking at the 50th guy on the list? Are we looking at the 50 to 55, 55 to 60? What are we really looking on our list? And, what are the probabilities of a player being there? And we, create a criteria of what we're looking for, what we're trying to accomplish, and you still build it out. You're just more sort of forgiving on, okay, we're going to lose, our top 30 players or our top 35 players, and then kind of dictate where you think your draft essentially would start.
Do you believe this year's draft has as much depth in the first round as last year's draft?
I do not.
Okay. Was that part of the rationale in the decision last year to trade your 2025 number 1 to Philadelphia to trade into the 32 hole? Because it looked like a stroke of genius once the Oilers qualified for the Stanley Cup final again, because that meant your pick was either going to be 31st or 32nd this year. Was there ever a part where you were nervous? Or can you give a little bit of insight for our listeners, right? Exactly where did you have Sam O'Reilly ranked that, some might say that was a risky proposition to trade a 2025 number 1 for the 32nd overall pick in 2024. So did you guys have him ranked in the low 20s and the high teens? Is that why you stepped up?
Yeah, I don't want to put the exact number on it just for Sam or for other people involved, but he was within our top 20. I can tell you that. Okay. And I can tell you he was between 15 and 20 is the best I can do for you.
Okay.
That's as transparent as I can get, just in fairness to the process. But for us, we just have some guidelines we go by of when we would get aggressive to select a player, and that's part of that internal marketplace that your list tells you. So if we have him, do the math on the rough numbers, if he's getting close to doubling, that means, okay, you could get aggressive, or it would justify, making a move if it was available. And then sort of 25 didn't really have any input on the decision at the time. Just, Bill Scott had a great proposition to make the trade, make the pick still viable to be a trade. So that was probably the biggest risk was, at the deadline, if we needed the pick, number 1, you're going to make an astute pick with the player you select, and then number 2, you can't handcuff yourself for a future deal if our team is performing, and Stan and Jax need to give it a punch to get over the edge, or you need to be competitive in acquiring a player. So there was a couple things that came into lessening the risk on making the move, but clearly where we had the player rated. Clearly, if we made an astute decision, the player's further along the timeline. We got our development people in, and we get Sam going because we were only making it for that particular player. And then we're getting ahead of the game, we think, and we still have some flexibility, and we didn't handcuff the club. So it all came together. A lot of people involved, a lot of discussions, but it happened quick. Like, it was maybe broached on the bus, got traction middle of it, and then, we had to hold them off for a couple picks to ensure our guy was there. So there was a lot of people that played a hand in the decision, and, Jackson for sure, Bill and Gretz and Warren. So lots of people in, and we just decided to make the move. And we like being aggressive.
I talked to people at work the Memorial Cup. One of the guys that I really trust said to me that he thought Sam O'Reilly, on his trajectory, would be ready to help the Edmonton Oilers by the middle of the next season. The only problem with that is he's going back to the OHL. And unless they change the rules, and I know there's whispers. I got Jerry Johansson coming up today at 4:35. I wonder if the CBA will change the rules for when guys can start their AHL careers, bump it up a year to 19. But because there's only the 3 picks, the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th, I do want to ask you about a couple of guys you took last year. How far did O'Reilly progress during the course of the season?
I think he made a nice progression. I think after Christmas, you could feel the gains getting greater. A little sluggish, maybe offensively out of the start. You're kind of staring at some box scores type of thing. But once I got in to see him play, I felt terrific about him personally. And then I know when talking to other development people that were in there, maybe the numbers weren't quite there yet, but they were quite happy with his play. So I felt it was just a matter of time he got some sort of puck luck in the bounces, so that kind of got him to the first half. And then his second half, we saw his determination. We saw the goal of, trying to win and, elevating himself to secure the number 1 C spot on that, deep team of, their whole top 9 winners, NHL draft picks. And then number 1 penalty kill, number 1 power play. So frontline featured player on everything, and real happy and real proud of. He made a difference in the playoffs, and he nightly contributed them winning a championship. A lot of good players on the team, but Sam certainly played a role. Yeah,
they won the OHL title in the Memorial Cup. We're joined by Oilers Director of Amateur Scouting, Rick Pracey. He's our Oilers Now headliner for Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Others can try to imitate, but nobody can duplicate the great flavor of Wilhauk Beef Jerky, only available in Leduc. I'm going to ask you about 2 more guys. If you give me 30 seconds on both players, and one of the people that recognized these 2 kids right away in Penticton was a guy that at times has been a critic of the Oilers organization, but Bruce Kurlock, who did work for years with Oilers Nation, really liked both Connor Clattenburg and William Nickel. And he watched them throughout the course of the year, put out lots of video on them. Clattenburg has been signed. Nickel won a Memorial Cup in London. Tell us about those 2 players.
Yeah, Connor has an identity. He played to that identity. A little bit disjointed at times in terms of some injuries, some suspensions, and things like that. But overall, real pleased with his year. Proud of him earning a contract. He has something. I don't want to call it an it factor, but he can make a difference. He can turn a game, and we think he's just got something that he can find his way to play at the highest level because he brings something different to the table, and he's a unique guy. So real happy with him. And then Will, much like Sam, he played a role in a winning program, played well, a really good start to the year, maintained that throughout the sort of no nonsense. He just never complains. He didn't play on a special team for a large part of the year, but he was a quality third-line center, bump up to second-line center. Did get some PK time here and there, but overall we expect him to have a real big year at 19 in terms of offensive, taking it to another level. We like his speed, we like his energy, we like his compete. We love his approach to the game. He's a non-complainer, does team-first approach, and he's going to get his turn. So he's going to be a featured guy in a great program, and to me that's the next step, and we're excited to see it. But real proud of the role he played in winning as well.
Well, Rick, just to wrap up, if you're lucky, maybe you get an extra pick or 2 by Friday and Saturday, maybe by Saturday. So thank you for taking time to join us. Best of luck this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You bet.